Hope everybody's doing well. Going to do a video on the Solo Stove Lite today, and just taking a walk in the woods, not too far from my place. I forgot to bring water, and I was gonna get some coffee going and some hot chocolate, but because I forgot the water, I have to walk out to the river that runs out in these woods. And to get to that river, I had to go through this massive downed pine. It was laying right across the trail. So that was interesting. I couldn't really go over because the branches were super thick on top, and there wouldn't have been any place for me to actually stand on the trunk and then jump down from. So I had to go under, which was a little sketchy because you're crawling underneath a fallen tree. Obviously, it wasn't going to go anywhere. It had been down for a little while. I'm thinking one of the recent storms we had brought it down. And you can see the size of the root system, so this was no small tree. But anyways, just a little bit of a extra step in getting over to the river, which coming up to now. Hopefully there's enough water level to get some water, boil that for some coffee. We'll see you in a second. All right, so our spot's set up. I'm gonna grab the Solo Stove, we'll get some water, talk about it a little bit, and get a fire going and get some coffee brewing. So this is the Solo Stove Lite. This is the stuff sack that it comes in, and I ended up getting the recommended pot for it, which is the Solo Stove Pot 900. So it's 900 milliliter. It'll nest the stove nicely inside, and I did look to see if there were other pots out there that had the right dimensions, and you know, of course there are bigger pots that the Solo Stove will fit into, but this one seemed to be the only one, at least the only one that I could find that that fit the stove perfectly. So this is the pot. It has the graduated markings on the outside. It has the locking handle on the top with a lid there. I'm not sure if you can see that. Two handles. It's a nice pot. It feels good. It's definitely big enough for, you know, 1 to 2 people, as Solo Stove recommends this particular stove for. It has the pouring mouth, or the pouring spout right there, so easy enough to pour your liquid into whatever you need. And then inside, I have the Solo Stove. Now, like I mentioned, and sorry for the road noise, I'm not sure if you can hear that, but this spot's really pretty, but it's right next to the road, and it's close to my house, so it's convenient. So sorry if you can pick up the road noise on the mic, but this is the Solo Stove Lite. They had a special running recently. It was buy one, get one, so you can't really pass that up. So I got one of my buddies got one. And like I said, Solo Stove recommends this for 1 to 2 people. It'll boil about, I think it's just over, well, actually, let's see. It'll boil, I think, just over 3 cups of water. Right? 30 ounces, 8, 16, almost 4. Almost 4. So that's definitely a decent sized pot. It has the cooking ring that fits right inside. You take it out, flip it upside down, put it on top, and you have a pot stand. So there are tons of videos on YouTube about these. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. I did take a weight. I weighed it before I came out, and looks like, okay, so for the stove, it's 8.4 ounces, 8.3 ounces for the pot with the lid. So that puts it at 1 pound, 0.7 ounces when you put the kit together. That's not super light, especially when you think of what titanium stoves are coming in at, or ultralight alcohol stoves, or titanium pots. It's not very light, but it's light enough. For a pound of weight, you've got a really nice twig stove that's going to definitely do what you need it to do. And to be perfectly honest, unless you're looking to like save ounces wherever possible, then you can't really beat this setup as far as pricing goes. I think for the stove and the pot, the MSRP is, I think it's $70 for the stove, and then 35 or something like that for the pot. That's not bad. It's basically on par with most other stoves in this category. The Emberlit, I don't think is too far from that. That might be like $40 for the twig stove, but to be perfectly honest, I've used both. I've only used this one once, but I can say that this burns extremely efficiently. These holes, these cutouts that they have going around the base, I think they call it like a recirculating burn or a secondary burn or secondary combustion, something like that. Basically, it creates airflow inside the stove, which helps to burn whatever fuel you're using extremely efficiently. Yeah, it's a great stove. So we're gonna go ahead and light it up. We're gonna collect some wood, get a burn going, grab some water, and like I said, we'll get some coffee and hot chocolate going and enjoy some time in the woods. One of the things that I really like about biofuel stoves like this is the fact that you don't usually have to worry about bringing fuel with you. I would assume that most people, when they go out, they have access to dried wood or dry, biomass of some kind. So it's nice not to have to worry about measuring out how much alcohol you need to bring, or worrying about how much fuel's left in a canister. You can just take a few minutes and look around, find some dried stuff, and you have all the fuel you would need in most cases. So that's one of the greatest benefits to using a stove like this. It has a little port in the pot stand where you can feed fuel into, so you don't have to worry about taking the pot off the stove every time you want to add some twigs. You can just shoot them right in. This is my first time using this stove with a pot sitting on top of it. The first time I used it, I actually cooked a steak over it, held inside of one of those baskets. So what I'm curious to see is how much soot builds up on the pot. One of the, I think, main drawbacks to wood burning stoves or twig stoves is the fact that you get really dirty pots afterwards. But with how clean and how efficiently this stove uses fuel, I'm imagining that you won't have as much buildup on the pot afterwards as you would with some other stoves. So that'll be something I'm interested in taking a look at. One of the contributing factors to that as well is what kind of wood you're burning. If you're burning something that has a lot of tar or pitch in it, that'll definitely contribute to it. So good hardwoods usually limit that, but you know, you still have smoke and soot coming off of it, because you know there is no stove that there is no stove that burns 100% efficiently. So one thing you want to do is get as much fuel as you think you're going to need, plus another, say, 50% on top of that. You want to get that all ready ahead of time. The twigs that you'd use in the stove, they're so small, they tend to burn out pretty quickly. And because the fire is so, because the burn is so efficient in this, it just eats through fuel. So make sure you have plenty handy, that way, you know, the fire doesn't go out and you're forced to restart the entire cooking process. And you know, you can use some thicker pieces of wood as well, you know, about finger width or so. That should work fine. It'll burn longer. But still have plenty of fuel handy. Ooh, nice. All right, time to get some coffee going. Heat back up. All right. Excellent. Now it's time to sit back and enjoy my coffee. Hope you all had a good time checking out this video on the Solo Stove. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. Please subscribe, like the video, and I appreciate all you subscribers who have stuck with me so far, and hopefully we'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care.